All right, welcome to another episode of Kickish Podcast. Today I have my girl with me, Amanda.
Yay,
So
yay.
for Amanda, yay! Amanda, thank you so very much for joining me on this podcast. I am really very thankful that you decided to grace me with your
I'm
presence.
so happy to be here on Kickish.
Yay! So, as you know, we're going to get started with how we met. And Amanda, it will be Oakwood. Was it
hmm
university then? I think
Yep,
it was some
I
college.
think so.
Or
Girl,
is
I don't
it-
even know.
So I met Amanda at Oakwood in Carter Hall, but you weren't
hmm
my RA.
No, I think I was a 19 that year. I feel like
Yeah.
I was.
And I feel like when I be messaging you on Instagram, I'm like, yes, I love it. I be
I
like,
know.
I'm
You
like,
are. You're very a hype person, which I really enjoy. And the keep in contact is really cool. That's why I love social media because you can always go
no.
back and connect to people that you may have not seen in a long time. So it's amazing.
Exactly. Like I feel like we haven't really dropped off because of social media. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there go
Yeah.
Amanda.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like, I see your life, but what you're posting and how you're progressing, and it's simply amazing.
I love those glasses you wore on your birthday. It's like
Oh,
so.
thank you.
I meant to ask you, like, yo, I think I could rock those.
You
They were
can.
so
You
cute.
can.
They were so
hmm
cute. All right, so
Give
we're
me your
gonna
address. I'll find some for you. Okay.
find some. Okay, I surely will. I surely will. We're gonna jump in. So we're gonna talk about the Olujimi project. So the Olujimi project is basically, you know what? I'm gonna let you explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Olujimi project is a project based upon my son, and he was born with, well, pretty much I would say like CP, but we didn't know what he was born with. He was born um, having health problems, not breathing, and so it progressed into CP, which they diagnosed later on. We thought
Okay.
would have a natural pregnancy, and so from the experience of going with a child with disabilities, he's now almost 4. I cannot believe it.
That's so
I was
crazy.
like, I'm artsy and crafty. I like making things. And I think it was even the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm like, hospital bills are expensive, medical costs is ongoing, and my husband and I are teachers. And so even though you expect to pay a bazillion amount of money for a child because they are just expensive, even when they grow up, they still expensive. This is like an added cost that you would not expect. Right, you're inexpensive, and your daughter, I'm quite sure, weddings, everything, yeah. So you never go out like helping your kids. So that wasn't a problem, but realizing that the added expense was something that we were not prepared for. And when you work in Florida, they do not give you anything. It doesn't matter if you're a special needs child, disabilities, they're not giving you anything if you're both working. And so I said, hey, let me create something where I could just make something and people can buy, and it can help offset the cost of his medical care, his medication, doctor
Mhm.
visits 3 or 4 or 5 times out of the month. So that's where it started from. And I'm like, the best thing is to use my son's name. Not only is it unique, but I thought it was kind of catchy, the Olujimi Project.
It is. Like when I saw it, I was like,
Yeah.
follow. Yes, it's so cute.
Yeah.
So cute. I forgot. My brother actually took my bracelets. He was like, I'll take that. I was like, that one has my wedding anniversary on
He
it.
said, "I don't care."
Okay, you can have that one, but I'm gonna take all the other ones. Oh my But side note, Amanda is like a bomb teacher, like
Thank
amazing.
you.
I be seeing your stuff. I'm like, man, I probably would have done a lot better in life if I was like in your class. Because you seem to be like so hands-on, like with your
I
kids.
try. I'm
And
annoying, but I love them. They annoy me right back.
they will never forget you. And your outfits
Yeah.
that you wear at school. Cause like growing up, but
I
teachers,
know.
sorry if
I
any of
know.
my teachers are watching this, the outfits were played
Yeah,
out.
it's true. I mean, life has definitely teaching and life and outfits have definitely changed depending on what school you're at. Some schools do not give you freedom. I
Yeah,
think
I can agree
mine's came over time. Like it's my personality. Of course, certain things are turned on because I teach at a Christian school, but they allow that personality to come through, which I really enjoy. And versus me having to wear uniforms every day because I would not know what to do if I had to wear a uniform. That's for some people. I'm not knocking it, but for me,
You gotta let your
Okay.
creativity out of
I
the
was a
box.
public school kid, so I didn't know anything about uniforms, so I didn't
Oh,
go to private
yeah,
school.
that would never work. I got you, I got you, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to you were saying because you said something that kind of made me like, wait, what? So you saying when Olajimi was born, they didn't know what was wrong with
Yeah, so like because posting like on social media, people are like, "Well, you knew this before." It's a whole thing about like children with disabilities. People expect that your child's going to have a disability that's not 100% sure. So we had challenges of growth, but by time a week before I delivered, they said he'll just be a small child and he's healthy. But through the whole process of giving birth, I think he was in distress, and I wasn't told until the end, and so as soon as I did my last push, I didn't hear a cry, and he said the NIC unit is on its way. So I know NIC unit is intensive care, and I'm like, nobody said anything. And so, oh, he just needs a little bit of air because of not breathing, and a lot of his oxygen levels were all over the place. So I just figured he would be in there for a day, a little
them?
bit of air, watch him. He's coming home, not knowing that it will be 7 to 8 weeks because he was full term. So no, I did not know that he was going to have a disability. But of course, when you lose oxygen to your brain, it causes a lot of certain functions to stop working or to be injured. So that's pretty much where it happened. Mhm.
Okay, okay, okay. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
I feel like it's even worse because you don't have an opportunity to prepare for it. Like,
Yeah.
if they tell you before, you're like, and sometimes they can tell you your child has Down syndrome, and then when you give birth, your child doesn't have Down syndrome. So
Mhm.
it's that whole barrier of like, okay, at least you can kind of prepare, but you'll never mentally prepare until you actually haven't have to deal with the situation. But at
Mhm.
least in your heart, you'll know like, okay, it could be this. But
Mhm.
knowing like in your mind, healthy, regular, you're like, okay, Lord, you did this one, thank you. And then later on, you're like, okay, this is not what I expected, but it's gonna be over. He's gonna be fine. And you realize more and more that it's not the journey that you thought you were going to be on. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Hmm.
So, as far as like the Olujimi project or whatnot, is it just your arts and crafts, or is it like I know I follow a couple of people, and I think one person I sent to you like long, long time ago.
Hmm.
But I follow people like with their kids and stuff because me, I just want to learn. Like I just learned about this skin
Oh
situation. It's
yes.
have, like
Hmm.
the black spots
Oh
on them.
yes, yes. Uh-huh.
I never heard about that.
Yeah.
I'm a documentary person. So if I see
Mm.
something and like I will go read, I will go like watch documentaries on it because I'm so curious.
Curious. Yeah.
Yeah, so do is it more just like arts and crafts or do you like speak about it? Because I feel like
So
in your not your stories, what do they call reels, you kind
yeah,
of
it's a cross
talk
because
some about.
I'm actually in the middle of processing of what am I doing with this because it started off.
Okay,
So I have 2 pages, and so when you're trying to manage the both pages, I'm like,
I
"What should I put
know.
on this? What should I not? What should I bring over? What should I not? Because 'Cause I'm following on one page and then the other one is not." So, I think ultimately, I do want to bring more awareness on the Olujimi project because I think my ultimate goal, which I realize the Lord is leading me to, is to maybe one day make it into a nonprofit organization.
I was gonna add
Because
that was one of my questions.
my goal is that hopefully that I will be able to do other things and work with other companies that will be able to pay somebody's bill, especially for parents who work. I'm
Mhm.
really in that medium of people who work who do not get assistance from the government. And the people automatically feel like you either have a child with disability, you're getting all this money and you're doing it for clout and they're paying you all this amount of money.
Right.
Absolutely not. Getting nothing at all. Nothing. It's not, and I'm not doing it to get money, but
Yeah.
if there is programs out there for people with disability and you're telling me their parents make too much and I'm a regular worker and they can't get assistance, I think that's a problem. If the
Mm.
assistance is out there to be helping with families with children with disabilities, it should help all families no matter what my cost is, but that's how Florida is. Every state's different. Some states
Okay.
it doesn't matter. So I want to be able to do that. And right now, once a year around Christmas time, I go back to the NIC unit and my family and I, on behalf of the Olujimi Project, we give out 25 baskets of stuff like books and onesies, and we just collected and whatever little profit that I do make, I put that in and we put our money. So that's something that's we've done it for 2 years now, and I haven't really posted a lot about
I
that,
was
but
about to say, like, I haven't
I
heard, like,
know, and I
any
haven't reached out
updates.
to I haven't reached out to people. It's really my mom was like, Amanda, what is going
Let me
on?
know. Let me
All
know.
right, this December we're doing it too. So it's about
Okay.
25 families, and it's the same NIC unit that my son was in.
Okay.
So I just like, hey, I wanted to give back because I know how hard it is to be in a NIC unit. It is really, really hard. And so I was like, hey, I'm starting it. So I just bought some stuff around the holidays and put it in a bag, put a little sign, gave them all these bags. So people who want to get like send me TJ Maxx bags, we need those, like those big 99-cent bags that you get at TJ Maxx.
The
Those
ones, like,
shopping bags?
oh, yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you gotta pay for that here in Chicago.
Oh, you do?
Oh, bro, yo, I'm, like, so serious. I can be picking up some on the way, like, 'cause I always end up having to buy a bag 'cause I forget
Mhm.
that I don't have, and I have so many bags in my
Oh, that makes sense.
car.
Yes. So we do the TJ Maxx, like the 99-cent bags. We put the
Okay.
stuff in there because it's easy for them to carry when they're leaving out of
Yeah,
the
they're very
hospital.
durable.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that we have been doing. And then eventually I was thinking maybe one day that once a month I choose a family to pay a bill.
Okay.
Whatever it is, if it's like pay for all your meds this month, like if it's 500, 200, 100, or here's the money to go towards that, that's where I'm looking for is the group of people who are working, even though I would take the ones who aren't because they need help too. But that's like my goal because that's my heart. It's like we need help and assistance too. So that's where am I going into, of course, to always bring awareness of things you can use and buy in a sense to help your child develop. So I'm working on this. My brain is all over the place. But that is
That's
my
so
ultimate goal is to
cool.
do the Christmas thing around because he get out of NICU in December. So that's why I do it around December is when he got out. And I also want to help families that are like ours to help pay for a bill or something that can help them with their child and then bring awareness. So that's my ultimate goal. So
Okay.
merch may change from like braces to t-shirts to other things, but that offsets that it just helps with the name. But I hopefully can bring awareness because I'm still learning. I never knew about people with CP until I feel like I had my child. Even though I know I saw people with disabilities around me and kids, I just never paid attention. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? You're like, "Oh, okay, they may need a cane, they need a walker."
Mhm.
Okay, but I never put a name to what could have been the problem until they said it, and I was like, "Oh," because I thought it was a death sentence. So you can see
Mhm.
I didn't really know anything about it. I was like, oh, "Okay, so how long does
Yeah.
my child have?" And my the doctor just stared at me and was like, "Ma'am, this is not like a prognosis of a death sentence. It's to let you know they're gonna have challenges through life." That's pretty
Mhm.
much, I'm like, "Oh, okay. Didn't know." Like, I felt bad, like, and I know he just
Like,
saw
dang
my
it.
face when he told me, I was like, "So how doc" he was like, "This is not the conversation, man. This is just to put a name over one of the things that is wrong, just so that they can go with diagnosis and, insurance purposes, they have to have names so that you
Yeah.
can get them paid for insurance." Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, I would've been like, "Wait, what?
Mhm.
Huh?" Run that back.
And I
Like,
had to research and look up which is good and bad all together. Because you learn, but then you don't know where your child lies on that scale.
yeah, and then yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes I be scaring myself. I'm like, all right, I'm cutting off the internet because I just keep going further and further and further, and I'm like, okay, just too far. So you're saying different other states, I guess they support more?
Yeah, so other states, like I think one of my friends was saying in South Carolina, they assist you no matter what your parents are making. So some states you could be, a doctor and making, doing well for yourself, and you can file for these different grants or disability, and they will provide for your child the therapies and things that they need,
Yeah.
where you don't have to pay out of pocket, but you have to know the state. So even though
Okay.
they do have something in Florida for like early intervention for children, it stops at 3 and he's in preschool, so they do cover that, which is something. But any other extra services besides what can be done at school, which is good. you have to cover on your own through insurance or out of pocket. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cause yeah, I always wondered like where this money coming from. Cause the girl, I can't
Mhm.
remember her name right now that I follow, like I really follow her because she goes through the process
Mhm.
with everything. And I'm like, how are you paying for it? Not like to be in people's pockets, but like
No,
like is the and I'm hoping that she is getting assistance because that's a lot.
it
Like
is.
financially, emotionally, physically, like
Yes.
a lot. So I'm
It
like, Lord,
is.
I'm
Some
gonna
people get it through organizations like Shriner, depending on that. You really have to do your research. Like Florida has something for children with certain type of disabilities you apply when they're older, which I'm trying to work on now, that
okay,
covers, but it's only like a certain group of people or disabilities that they will cover underneath that. And the waiting list is really long. So you don't know when you're going to get on that list that's going to help cover that. So most of the time people are out of pocket or the state does help them, but a lot
mhm,
of the times you just pray you can get on Medicaid or one of those to help you with it. And in
okay,
Florida, that deals with finances as well. So you gotta know your state. Everybody's like, move from Florida, go to another state. I'm like, yeah, it's not that easy, but you can get your insurance covered and stuff like that through government programs. But here, government programs are typically entitled to. So what do you make? And once I hear that, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna cancel me.
oh my goodness. I know this lady, I was talking to her, I was getting my nails done, and she was saying she was trying to get her daughter into a particular school.
Mhm.
And she was saying, she filed as homeless because she was like,
Mm.
they can't turn you away if you're homeless.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
she was because she knew, she was like, I'm a single mom. She was like, I made
Mhm.
this amount of money, but she was like, I had 2 kids. I had to, support my kids, but I can't send my kid to go to school to get shot. So
Yeah.
she was like, I had to do by any means necessary. That's
It's hard. It really is hard trying to figure like for me, I can say the blessing is the school that he's able to be in and
mhm,
getting into that school, I didn't know about it until somebody mentioned the name and when I called them and I gave a whole list of the things that they said we'll take him. And I would say that he's more and they are deal with children with disabilities and most of them have I would say they're able to do more things on their own than
okay.
he is. He probably is probably the one or two of them that really you have to assist him with everything.
Mhm.
Um, but putting him in like a medical daycare because we didn't have Medicaid, they were like, "Oh, it's $200 a day." I was like, what?" Yes,
What?
because and then they were like, "He's not going to be able to get all the therapies because you don't have Medicaid." And normally Medicaid helps sponsors them, so you would. I'm like, "Who? I can't afford $200 a day."
Yeah, and then y'all
There's
not
like
gonna be able to give him everything that he
Yeah.
needs.
So I was very thankful that the school he's been at since 3 months
Mm,
is they're moving up in age. They go up to five and they work with the county. So now he's in preschool and they have programs with the preschool where they cover his from morning until about 2:30 and then they have aftercare that you have to pay for. So
oh,
I'm very blessed that it has worked out that now he's going to school where he for free because of the help. So
okay.
God places things to help offset a lot of the costs. So we're happy with that.
That is awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Hmm.
So, will that be like I know you said he's moved up to kindergarten. Will that be something where he can stay in
Yeah,
or
I
like
don't.
is it cut off? You know
Mm,
how some places they cut off after a certain
yes.
age.
Well, they were telling me they do have like a facility after a certain age that he can go to
Okay.
because with his disability and knowing what he's not doing per se of like walking and talking and things like that, I would feel more comfortable being there. But he also can go to public school because he's still in preschool and his birthday is late, so he will be in kindergarten like when he's 6. So they
It's
have kindergarten there, right? October,
he's born
baby.
in November.
So it'd be later. So after that, they just say they even have facility up until adult because there they do like preschool, daycare. They even have like adult, so he can stay there probably for a very very long time.
Okay. Okay.
I don't
Awesome.
know about the schools. I'm still nervous of putting him in
Mhm.
a regular school. There of course he will be in the special needs department, but I don't know. I'm not ready for that. So I'm like, he's been here since he's little. Like, how long can he stay before he has to leave? Because,
Mm,
that's another story for itself when you place your child, of course, in school, the dangers that we've seen that's been happening.
mhm.
I think about my child who has disabilities. I'm like, if something like this happens, how does he get out? He doesn't
Exactly.
walk and run. They're teaching kids to run out of the windows. You gotta
That
pick
don't
that
look
boy
like
up and put him in a wheelchair.
yeah.
So I just think about that each and every day. And also,
Mm,
shortages of teachers hopefully get better by the time he's older, but they don't have a lot of watching them is
mm.
another thing. So I'm in a crossfire of knowing when he turns 5 after kindergarten, what will we do? But hopefully he can stay there because they love him. It's the best
That
place
is
ever.
so, like, good to hear.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
I
Wow.
it comforts my heart and allows me to be able to go back to work. So I am very grateful of the school. That's why I tell parents, if you can find, even for kids who do not have disabilities, when you find a good school, you stay there
Mhm.
because sometimes it is very hard to find a place where your child fits in. They feel loved, they take care of them. And I'm always used to being around private schools, and we see that every single day. They take care of their kids. Like we take care of our
Mhm.
students like our kids.
Yes,
So
yeah.
those my babies. That's what private school is. But when you're putting them in public school, you don't always know you're going to get that from every teacher, right? And he gets it from everybody there. it
That's
it
so
the
good.
love goes across the board and they take care of him like his own. So really
That's
good.
good, that's good. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as if I have a say, keep him where he is, because I've been, like, in places where we would say at our school, "Oh, we can take them because they might have,
Yeah.
like, disabilities," and
Mhm.
we could
Mm-mm.
not handle our group of kids and this disability, and it wasn't that we wanted to shoot anybody away,
Right.
but it was like we're actually not capable. So like I
Mhm.
felt like I was doing a disservice to one
Mhm.
student because I really couldn't.
And
Like
I
I had
feel
to
the
like
same
take it
way.
back, have a meeting.
Mhm.
Like it's not that I don't want to try.
Mhm.
I believe the student is a great student, but what I'm given versus what I didn't go to school to teach. Okay.
No. Yeah,
I
you
did
didn't.
like I fell into it. Okay. So at
It
that moment
happens.
in time, like they didn't t there was no
Mhm.
resources for me to assist this
It's
student,
true.
and so, I just like to be upfront and honest, because I don't want any parent to have a bad experience. Like, I don't have kids,
Yeah.
but I know, like, if the kid ain't doing well and I see it and I don't feel like you guys
Right.
really care, and I never wanted, the parents to feel like I didn't care about your child, it was just
Right.
can't,
I feel like, and from that, because I teach, the same in the same pathway where you were. I think that when I talk to some of my parents and I'm like, well, there are other services somewhere else, that they're like, well, I'd rather them not be teased. They may not be teased here, or I'm looking for just the love, not necessarily anything else. And I'm like, I got you, and I understand that. So it's like they're trying to find a safe place for their child. But I will
Mm,
tell
okay.
anybody, if you see that your child has something that looks maybe a little off or something, get it checked out. And then if you realize that your child has been diagnosed with a disability and that school is not able to find a school that will. And most of the time it is in the public school sector because they have people who went to school for children with disabilities. And
Mhm.
I always tell my parents, like, there's some things. I had one class for called exceptional student, and that was one semester. What am I supposed to do with that when there's so many different assets of disabilities and we
Yes.
cannot always help. So I do believe the fun, and then the parent has to be aware and understand that just because their child is placed in a certain setting does not mean anything different. It's there to help them. So I know my son is at a school that even though he's not doing those things, they're gonna still talk to him. They're gonna still read to him. They're still gonna move his arms for him. He is getting the help that he would not get if I had just stayed home with him.
Yeah.
He's getting that help that he needs to be around other kids, hear them talking around him, hearing other noises. He knows, like, he speaks to his eyes. So he knows when he's in a place of comfort or a place of like something's new and you can hear he's registering like, this is not the same type of sound that I'm
Really
used to. So I do believe parents also have to realize, like, if your child needs help, get him help, especially at the beginning, because they can do so much more than what we expect as a parent and even expectations of doctors if they get help early. Sometimes as parents are like, "Oh, I don't want to claim that." You don't have to claim it. That's a hard thing to
Yeah.
claim anything that may be wrong, but it's good to know, okay, this is your perspective. Let me see if I can have somebody help them grow out of that, or maybe not grow out of it. Disability, people tell you they don't grow out of the disability.
Hmm.
They learn to improve on that disability, but it doesn't mean that they know they will not have that problem. And for CP children, he will always have CP, cerebral palsy. He will always have it. Can they do better? Yes. With
Okay.
therapies and all of that, some you will see regular people like us and wouldn't even know that they have CP, but they
Oh
do.
wow.
Mhm. So they may have a small movement that may be a little off with their tight muscles, but you may not know that they
Mhm.
really do. Because I had a quick story that one of my friends said when he was a kid, they were reading a story about a child with CP in high school. And he said he was a jokester and he made jokes about it. And he went to his friend, his best friend, and he was like making a joke about this story. It's about a boy who had CP, blah, he couldn't walk, da, da, da. And his friend just stared at him. And he's like, "Why aren't you laughing? We laugh at everything." And she was like, "'Cause I have CP." And he was like, "What? What?" And she was like, "Yeah, I took me a long time to do this, took me a long time to do that." And he was like, "Oh." So he said from that point on, he realized A, don't make jokes on disabilities. B,
Hmm.
you don't know what somebody's disability is. Sometimes you can't always see it, but it's there. So I
That,
think that's a thing to let people know. Some of us have it. We just not you may not be able to
yeah.
figure it out as much. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. So how was it during COVID? Like everything shut down, therapies,
Yeah.
because you were teaching at home.
Yes.
So
Hard.
one, I know that's a whole situation right there.
Yes, it is. I mean, both of us are teachers, so we were both trying to teach at home, and eventually, thank God that he was able to go on campus and teach on campus. Because first of all, internet connections not working with both of us on the internet at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It
Okay.
was it was hard because his therapies, they try to do virtual therapies. And so I was listening to them, trying to do the moves for him, and vice versa. And at home, when you're by yourself for him, it has a feeding regimen. And if he's crying, I have to hold him. I remember one time I was holding him and teaching class, and he threw up all over me.
What?
And I moved him over here. And he threw up on the floor. He threw up on my leg, and I'm like, "Yes." So a pronoun is takes the place of a noun, and is he or she. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm just over here like, "Okay, 11 o'clock comes, so I can close off of this and start." It was a lot, but I tell my students beforehand, "Okay, my son's home. This is if I have to run up and get." And that's why I love teaching middle school, because I could not have done this teaching lower elementary. Absolutely not. I would have had to
Yeah.
put in some papers somehow or another, because trying to first of all, trying to teach them online is a no-no. And teaching that and trying, they're not gonna understand, like, where's my teacher go? And then parents were like,
Yeah.
where's the teacher? Why she disappear? But my students were very understanding, because they're 13 and 14. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, work. I'm gonna go feed my child. I'll be right back. They're like, I got you. And everybody was at home. So I just
Yeah.
let them know so it worked. But yeah, there will be times where you're just like, okay, excuse me, child.
You gonna
And
throw
you
it
hear
right
crying in the background, you mute yourself, you're like typing in the chat box. So this is the assignment because he's he's crying.
Wow.
It was definitely a lot. I try to dance and do that's kind of how I started on TikTok. I just started trying to dance and do different things because I was just trying to get myself my mindset correct.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, because
So
I
it
know it was a struggle for like everybody, especially if you had younger kids and trying to work from home.
mhm,
But I was just thinking like therapy and everything. Okay, okay. So
yeah.
as far as with the therapy, I know you said that he can do things more than what you expect.
Mhm.
What do they? I guess what are you guys working on now? Is it like to be able to walk with assistance? I don't know,
Yes.
I be seeing you and, like, oh, like, I
Yeah,
remember the eating thing. I was
yes.
That was so cool.
Yeah, so we I think we're still in the same wavelength. For him is major head control because
Okay,
he's not aiming to put his head up. So it'll be head control, sitting in his chair for a certain amount of time because most of the time he does not like sitting in his stroller or his as wheelchair adaptable chair. So trying to
okay,
get him to sit there for a while, keeping his head midline. They work on his legs, like he loves the stander, so he's there. That helps like him standing straight up. And
okay,
so that's the major thing, is keeping his headline, trying to, even with speech therapy with him eating, we don't know if he will be able to eat by mouth, but we also want to help him control his saliva, so that
okay,
we practice with the different tools to help him swallow,
okay.
help him taste just a little bit, just so you can get that process going so that it doesn't stop. And then somebody told me like the brain reroutes itself, can reroute. So that's why you're teaching them different things, because say somebody's like missing an arm, they learn other ways to pick up a pencil or
Yeah,
pick up things, and the brain just gets used to like, okay, this is how we function to lift up my head, pick up this. I may be missing this, but I can do that. So that is what we've been trying to work with him. And there's small improvements. It's not like these great huge improvements that, and that's one thing I learned as a mom with a child with disabilities, is that you have these really lofty goals that you want to happen and you think it's going to happen instantly, and when it doesn't, or if it doesn't happen, it really hurts, so you're just like, okay, I thought he would be doing okay, but then
mhm,
you have the therapist like, but Jimmy did this, and you're like,
sure.
okay. But then, so you start, so
Yeah,
that's why you'll see like small anything we're praising, like he laughed. Oh my God, he smiled. Okay, he
yeah,
moved his hand. Oh my God, he moved his hand. Like,
but
like it's the
that's
little things that you just
mhm,
are really looking at, and I think it helps us appreciate life more. Like we're always looking for miracles, these big things. But
yeah,
just waking up in the morning, opening your eyes, going to the bathroom, moving your toes, moving, because those are things that we have, people who have the ability have to realize, as people who have a disability, of how hard they have to work to do something that their body is not used to them
it's
doing. So him
mhm,
waking up, him even just moving his arm, which he does in a shaky movement, but that still is a lot of work for him to get his
yeah,
arm up or open his eyes, or get a smile out where we take for granted. I can smile easily. For him to do the muscles, voluntary or involuntary,
mhm,
it's still a lot. So I've learned that whole process of, Amanda, appreciate everything. Appreciate your
mhm.
ability to speak, because everybody doesn't have a voice verbally. They communicate in other ways. So yeah.
That's cool. Like, I be telling my husband sometimes, I be like, "Yo, it's the small things. All
Hmm.
victories matter." Like, literally, like, it's
It's
something
true.
small, and I'm like, "Hey," because what I've realized is that what's small to you could be big to
Mhm.
me, you
Mhm.
know? So, that's a big thing. When I be seeing you
Mhm.
like, "Oh, he did this," I'm like,
It's a
"Yes,
yeah.
Jimmy,
And so it's
yes."
a big thing, and I appreciate everybody so much, because people are like, "Well, how do you do this?" And I'm like, of course, God, because there were
Yeah.
some really dark days, especially at the beginning. And honestly, a lot of people didn't know about the dark days. Besides my husband and maybe my mom, I really didn't speak about it. And I wasn't that heavily on in Instagram, and just happened over time, because I was like, I need to speak out, because we all have a story, spiritual life
Mhm.
testimony. We all have, even thinking about your job and how you transition to where you are and all of those things. That's a testimony for somebody who wants to change a career, or realize, I cannot do this career anymore. I want
Mhm.
something else. Like, just going on a whim of like, let me just see, and God opening those doors. And so even when your encouragement of like, hey girl, I see this or that, that encourages me to continue to go on, because I may be over here like, oh my God, why? And then somebody says something positive, and you're like, thank you. Okay, I can
Yes.
still continue and carry on. So I said, it's not just, I might not have friends who have children with disabilities, which I'm still working on, but I have so many people around me that like sends encouraging notes, or shows me something, or sends me, like, you'll send me a video, somebody show me a video of something else, and I'm like, okay, what did they do? okay, let me
Mhm.
see if I can find that, even though every child's different, but maybe Jimmy is gonna like that light up ball today. And
Yeah.
certain people will show me those things, and that keeps me going because you need a community around you of people who are encouraging you or looking out for you. And that is how I was like, that's how I'm going. Like Jesus, my friends, my husband, my, and people around on social media literally are just like my family, even though they're not. And that helps
Yeah.
me. So that's that pocket that I'm happy I shared because I would still feel alone or
Mhm.
with people around me. I just felt alone. Like you
Really?
don't understand me.
Yeah.
And great that you're here, but I feel alone. So with the whole combination, I'm getting out of that shell of Amanda, you're by yourself.
Okay.
Because I'm not. Even
It's
if someone
so
doesn't understand what I'm going through, but I'm not alone.
yeah. That's so good to hear because I was gonna ask, like, what do you do, like, for yourself or, like, when you're in those moments? And one, I hear community. Community
Mhm.
is so strong. I'm telling you, ever since I moved to Chicago, I'm
Mhm.
really finding who my community is
Mhm.
because it's different out here.
I can believe it. And in South Florida, it is very different. And I know for me, like I always have people surrounding me and I have people who love me. But over time I've learned to I sometimes block it out and I feel bad. Like I pushed myself. Sometimes I've pushed myself into a corner of well, I have a child with disabilities. I can't do this sometimes, not be able to do that. And instead of me opening my mouth and saying, this is how I feel, I need this help, or da da da, will keep it to myself or post it on, I start posting it. And so that's why I'm telling people, like, you got to say something. Because the
Mhm.
average person will say, Amanda, you're okay. You're amazing. Da, da, da. Because what you see looks like, whoa, I show my moments of crying and upset. But on the but you're like, "Hey, you're fine." And I have to
Mhm.
realize that, yo, I'm not fine.
Mhm.
Most of the time, my personality won't allow me to keep me down forever because that's just my personality. So not even
Mhm.
faking it, it's just my personality is not gonna keep me down.
Mhm.
But I start telling people more now. I'm trying. Like,
I
hey,
get
yeah, I need
you.
help. Okay, I need some food because I couldn't cook to this week. Like, help me out. Like, just I need help.
I I get you. I totally understand because I'm going through like when I was telling you about my job situation,
Mhm.
I was going through like that moment. Like I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I'm off social media. I keep like I literally said those same words to like my friends and my husband. I was
Mhm.
like, y'all don't understand.
Mhm.
Like literally, like, and that's how I was like, this, and this, and this. Y'all don't get it. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And then I was like, man, wow, hold up a second. Maybe they don't understand because I'm not saying nothing.
Yes.
So, now I'm like trying to be a lot more vocal about, okay, this is how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
This is, I'm feeling sad today because of XYZ,
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, now we know how to, maneuver, or I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm feeling sad. I don't need y'all to fix it. I'm just letting
Right.
you know this is how I feel right now. And I'm gonna get better,
Right.
but I don't need a solution. Then there's times where I'm like, all right, I do need a solution. So
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is big communication because yes, my friends do not understand because they're not in that situation. And no matter how many times they can say they understand, you really don't unless
yeah.
you're in it. Right? But the whole comfort of, what can I do to help or assist? And even vice versa, what can I help to assist? I've just learned that you have to open your mouth. Like when Jimmy first came home, my mom had to go back to work. Um, most of my friends, they had to go back to work and live their lives. And I was sitting here home. Once he got home, as a new mom, I didn't know what to do. Husband had to go back to work. I'm sitting here just in this dark place of like, this child is crying. It's not the same, all of these back and forth. And so my mom was like, you got to reach out to somebody and let them know what you're going through. And of course, on a spiritual, she's like, talk to the women of the church. Like, mom, I'm not that close to them. Then, I mean, why am I? She said, can you call the women's ministry and let them know that you're struggling out here and you need help? And that's what I
That'd be,
did.
a
And
lot for
I,
me.
I know, and I'm like, like we okay, like we can
Yeah,
find food, like
we
no,
good now.
right? And then I was like, you know what? And I sent a message out, and that immediately, that for 2 weeks, They brought food. They said, "What do you need help with? You need cleaning." And I was like, "I definitely need food," because like trying to maneuver him, and his feed was like feeding every 3 hours, but it was on a machine and he was crying and pushing the milk out. It was just like a whole, and then I was battling being a new mom.
Yeah.
And with those two combinations, I know which one was me being a child with special needs mom, or was I being a mom. Like I didn't knew mom. Couldn't figure out. I just thought it was all just to his disability, and not realizing a lot of this stuff was just being a new mom that nobody talks about,
Yeah.
right? And so they brought food and everything, and so I that was when I realized you gotta speak up when you need the
Yeah.
help. And people are willing to help. But most people are gonna go without their day because we live a life. And
Mhm.
if you don't say anything, they go like, "Hey, you good? Yeah, I'm fine."
Exactly, and then Imma think I'm in the fine.
Yeah. So they're gonna just move on. And they checked on you, and they love you, and then keep it
Yeah.
moving. And so, I don't say it all the time because I don't want to make my friends depressed if there are things, because some people take on what other people are feeling. I'm that type of person. And so I try not to say all the time because I don't want them to feel like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah, I don't want that all the time. But I am learning to open my mouth and realize, man, to stop putting yourself in a corner in a box. Let them know so they will know how to help you, or even one day take care of Jimmy and be able to know how to do it, because it's not that complicated
Mhm.
once they're around.
Okay, okay, okay. Awesome, awesome. So the plans for Olujimi
Mhm.
project, we're gonna say this again because we're speaking it in. It's gonna become a nonprofit.
Uh-huh.
We're working on, different merch and
Mhm.
everything. You're working on being more of a voice for
Yes.
CP. Yes.
Yes. So I have that is my ultimate like goal. I would love to branch off on that side of being more informative and things like that. It's slowly, I am the type of person when things don't go my way, hence the whole journey the Lord has put me on, wrecks my brain. I feel depleted. So the journey of whatever I started with this has just been like, I'm gonna just cancel this and cut this off. And my mom was like, "This is a ministry, Amanda. No matter what you sell, no matter
Wow.
what you do, you bring a sunshine to somebody, and it's a ministry." And it definitely is true that no matter if I'm not like selling what I thought I would, and I gotta put in the work as well. But also the point of like people have are brought with happiness when they
Mhm.
either receive a sticker or receive something that I've made, and they just know that it's helping a good cause, but it just like it brings so much light. And that's why I realize it's also a ministry, because I want to ultimately let people know that friends, you may have friends who have children with disabilities, or adults that just know that it's not bad all the time. There are some really good days and excellent and amazing days. And God put us on this earth for a reason, and they're all here for a reason and a purpose. And I know that my son brings so much light, not just to me and to others. And it took me a while to get there to see the
Mhm.
light, but I am like, Lord, keep him around, keep him wherever you want him to do, whatever is it. If he's going to be nonverbal for the rest of his life, let him shine through his eyes, that people can
Mhm.
see you, and people can see that, the love that he brings to people. And it's just crazy when people see, they're like, "We love him." I'm like, "But I didn't even say anything to you." They're just like, "We see his
I
eyes, his
feel like I
personality. It's
already
just the love
know him.
that we love." I know. And that makes my heart good, because I always wonder, once I found out he had disabilities, that was probably the most scariest thing. You may not see her in the
I love it.
background, but this chick back here who keeps on walking
Hey!
past, and she was the first one who, when I was gonna like, I'm gonna stay in the house for the rest of my life because I don't know how to leave with him. And
Okay.
so she said to me, "Get up and go. We're going to church." And I will always remember that. And I was like, "Nah, he's gonna cry. He's gonna do this." He's like, "Babies cry. He's gonna throw up. He's gonna do this." Okay, babies throw up. When he go, okay, I got no more excuses. All right, let's get dressed. And back then he was a newborn, which was easier to go out with him than now that he's bigger and lifting him. But
Mhm.
that's when I realized, okay, man, you are not. I'm not introvert. I cannot stay in the house forever. Literally, I will be depressed in a dark hole somewhere. And that encouraged me to get out. I still am nervous to go out with him sometimes. I don't know. It's me, it's nobody else. Nobody is making me nervous. It is myself.
Okay.
But
That's,
that's the reason why it's now pushed to like, we're going out, we're doing things, we are
mhm,
going to let the world know that children with disabilities and adults with disabilities aren't going anywhere, and we're not going to be hidden like they did back in the day. You know, get used to it, get comfortable, learn, ask
mhm.
questions. I love people asking questions. Don't stare forever. You're going to look because it's something new. But
Yeah.
I don't have a problem of people asking, like, okay, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Certain ways that people get offended of how they ask questions. I just like ask questions because we don't know. We're still learning how to deal with things that don't look what we're used to, and
Right. Yeah.
how we should say wording. So I also tell my parents, like, don't get so upset when somebody comes with a question that sounds wrong, because they really don't know. They
Mhm.
just want to learn. So they're not thinking like, well, how do I process? Because they're already nervous asking you because they're scared you're going to be like, what are you looking at? They're
Yeah.
like, so I'm like, just be calm. If they're saying it out of love, most likely, or unless they're doing something rude, that's different. But they
Yeah.
probably just don't know how do I say to that person, like, I want to know more so
Mhm.
that I can, when you see somebody again, it's like, oh, they have this or this or that. So that those parents can even talk to their kids, like, well, why is he not doing that? Because he has this, or because, but you can go over there and still say hi to him. Those things of interacting with children with disabilities.
Yes, you're right. Because there's sometimes I'm like, I don't want to ask that question, but let me just
Yeah.
Google it real quick because
Yeah.
I always want to come from a place of love.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know I've had some people ask me some questions, and I'm just like,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's just like you said, they probably curious because I feel like now that social media has really been like
Mhm.
so big, now I feel like I'm exposed to so much
You
more.
are.
And now, like I told you about the skin thing, I
Mhm.
never seen or heard about that. And I studied
Yes.
biology. Like,
Wow, that's crazy.
never heard of that before. And I literally went and did
Mm.
research on that.
Cause
So,
we have a book, but I don't think it's the one that's with the darker spot. I think it's the one with the red spots.
okay.
On it's a book company called Able Fables, and so they have books of children with disabilities. They have 3 books out, and
Okay.
one of them, the character has like the red spots all on their face and their
Okay.
body. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, so more and more social media has definitely brought light to a lot of things that we were never exposed to. And that's crazy, you said biology, and it's like you didn't hear it. So it's always new things and research out there of new things of like, wow, I didn't know that was, or wow, I didn't know that. So curiosity comes is good when if you don't want to ask. I love how you say you research and you look, and that's a good thing. So then you learn more about it. That's the
Yeah.
best method.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so very
You're
much for
welcome.
talking to me. It was so good
Yes.
talking to you. Like, I
It was
really
good
learned
talking to
like
you
a
too.
lot. I'm like, huh, okay,
Mhm.
because I look, I watch, I comment, I read up on stuff, but to
Mhm.
hear like personal experiences to
Yes.
me goes a lot deeper because everything on paper, but like you said,
Yeah.
like you can hear with something, they can tell you this is what it is, but
Mhm.
until like you hit with the moment and have to deal with it, it's
It's
totally
true.
different.
It is true.
So yes. Well, thank you
I'm
for kicking
happy
it
for
with
being
me.
on. Ooh,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. I
Yes,
appreciate
yes,
you got me on Kickish.
yes. Well, I'm gonna close it out here. Guys, do not forget to follow Amanda. What is your come on, I know you got 2 pages. Let's throw that out.
All
What are
right,
we
so
gonna
I do have 2 pages. One is the Amanda Dare, and then I also have the Olujimi project, which is the business side of the page. You can follow me on TikTok, which is Olujimi and Mama. You can even look under the Amanda Dare. So that is my whole Instagram, TikTok. And if you ever want to purchase something for the Olujimi project, you can go on Instagram to the Olujimi project, or type in www.theolujimiproject.com and you will be able to go there. Thank you, Kickish.
Yay! All right, so do not forget to follow, support the Olujimi Project. Do not forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and the best
Mhm.
thing is to share because sharing is caring and it is definitely free. But
Mhm.
until then, thank you guys for joining us on Kickish. Deuces, we out.
Bye.
Bye.